some different. I think for everybody, it's a greater level of involvement. So that's my opinion. Okay, let's open up the Birkat Hamazon. Okay, let's see, what page is it? No,
24.
Page 224. So I wanted to, yeah.
In our community, we have sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, grandparents, all living together.
Right.
In Ashkenaz community, when they were in Germany, I don't think they had that. So for them to just get up and leave, I'm not putting it down.
Yeah,
at all.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe that meant an extent of 6 people or 8 people. Here, it's a multitude of people.
I agree. I think it's a massive issue. How we pull it off, I don't know. And that's why I'm suggesting that everybody do something. In other words, maybe, one person makes a decision to go there twice a year. And one person makes a decision to be involved in the Hesed organization. One person makes a decision to buy an apartment. I think for everybody it's different, but I think if everybody ups their game, then, you take a step and you don't know where it leads, but it opens doors on its own.
Yeah.
It opens doors on its own. But what's happening, with all of the tragedy, the vibrancy and the power, it's beyond. It's something that you can't we went to the Kotel Saturday night. It was breathtaking. At midnight, the streets are full of people everywhere. It's just, and people are running back to the front. They're running back. What other country in the world are people doing that?
Okay.
So it's a remarkable thing. The yeshivot, the kollalim, they're bursting with people, mind-boggling. People having kids and kids. Showing Jamie the cranes. There's just cranes everywhere. They're everywhere. No, the cranes are building and building, and if they build 100,000 apartments this year, which they can't, they catch up. They come to par. They wouldn't. They still have to build another 20,000 next year, but at least they'd come to wherever. You go to Europe and you see another with the demand, 100,000 apartments. It's mind-boggling. You go to Europe. We were in Venice a number of years ago. The buildings are empty. Europe, they're closing 700 churches a year are closing. Closing. They're using them. What did we see? Museums and concert halls and skateboard things. And people are not having children, and the places are dying. This is one of the most vibrant places in the world. Rav Ammar, the former chief rabbi, who we pray in his synagogue, my kids are close to him. He has 11 kids. That means that he will have 1,000 descendants. That's what it means. In that world, in the Haredi world, the Black Hat world, that's what it means. Now, 2 people in 2-3 generations become 1,000. Okay, so not everybody's having 10. The average family is having 4. The average family over here is not replacing itself. 2 people have 1.3 kids. That means they're not even replacing themselves, right? It's the population shrinking. So everybody's letting in Arabs and Africans to fill up. I'm talking about America is shrinking. Japan is shrinking. UK is shrinking. France is shrinking. Russia is shrinking, right? The only people who are having babies are the Africans and the Arabs. So they open their door to these people, and the Mexicans, right? They open their door to them to beef up the labor forces and so on, which is another nightmare. But over here you see maybe the only country left in the world where people are incredibly proud of their country. We don't have that anymore. People are running to the front to die for their country. What are you talking about? They're babies.
No, they were injured.
They were injured and they don't want to go back. Yeah. This is a real thing. So it's a different reality, and we choose to exempt ourselves from it. We choose to exclude ourselves from it. So what we have here is really unprecedented, and how to unwind it, I don't have any idea, because it's so spectacular. But to not have an active engagement over there, I think is wrong. So everybody choose their own thing. One person should go on the Israeli news 3-4 times a day. Another person take on umpteen chesed projects like you are doing, right? Another person go there more often. Another person get a place there. I don't know. I think for everybody, it's very important. No, okay. So let's talk about prayer in general. Why do we,
Don't kill me. We need the leaders.
okay, good.
That's what we need.
Let me tell you something. The leaders are not going to do it. But then the leaders are not going to do it. The leaders are not going to do it because the leaders, so to speak, are very, very focused on their groups over here. They're not going to do it. So what needs to happen, and how did all the Geulot happen throughout time? How did all the redemption happen? It didn't happen from the leaders, in fact. It happened from the people. Now, who brought about Hanukkah? The people. Who brought about the rebuilding of the Beit HaMikdash in the time of Esther? The people, not the leaders. The leaders are so entrenched. The leaders are so looking over their shoulders at their power bases, whatever it might be. They're not going to do it. That's unfortunately the reality. So who's going to do it? And you know who led it every time? The women. That's a fact. It always comes back to the women, right? The reality is who brought upon the redemption every single time in Jewish history, going back to Egypt? Going back to Egypt, the women. That's the truth. So it does? Okay. Okay. What's the point of prayer? Point of prayer. Why do we pray?
To connect.
Huh? To connect, right? To connect which way? Which way do we connect? Out and in, right? We reach out, we reach in, right? We've talked about this. We reach out to God and we reach into us. What's more important? Into us. Unquestionably more important. That's why it's the hitpalel. It's mitpael. It's out in. It's out and back. But the back, the between me and me, is the most important, right? So prayer is supposed to be transformative. It's supposed to move me from a certain mind to a different mindset, and from a certain state of being to a different state of being. In other words, what we hold is that words are more transformative and powerful than actions are. Words are more transformative. Words are more effective in changing a person than actions are. Do you buy that?
It's very contrary to what we normally.
That's right.
do.
Because, exactly. Because in Western culture, it's sticks and stones will break my bones. Words will never harm me, right? What?
A day. The
Huh?
third time.
You heard it today?
Conversation of speech and your words and. fixes
So
the
in
words.
Judaism, it's the opposite. Words are the most powerful and the most transformative. And we have to use words that way, right? So we have words as they manifest in thought and in speech. And the reality is that for us, when I open a book and I confront words, they build me. When I speak words, they change me. Words are the place to be, right? A person sits in front of a book all day, he or she is changed by that. What do you mean? They didn't get up and do anything. It doesn't matter. The state of being is transformed as a result of words. So we have a marked difference from Western culture in that we believe that the most powerful transformative element is a word and not an action. Now, that doesn't mean that an action is not super important. Of course it is. But it means that words are much more important than we think they are.
They're
So-
the conduit. They're before the action.
They're before the
Yes,
action, right?
Before the action.
Before the
conduit
action.
to the
But when you look at a person's life, right? When you look at how much time a person spends in terms of his personal growth or hers, right? In a thought or in speech, and how much time a person spends in action, you'll find that a person spends much more time engaged in thought or speech than they do in action. That's natural, it's normal. And if it's true, which it is, then my thought and speech should be empowered the way it can be, should be empowered to give me what it can give me. Okay, so let's see that in terms of this prayer. Okay, now let's talk about the Birkat HaMazon. Why is Birkat HaMazon distinct? What makes it different than everything else?
Was it told to us in the Torah to say Birkat HaMazon?
Right, it was said in the Torah, right? Right, which means what? It was said in the Torah, which means what?
It's a biblical.
Huh? It's Doraita, right? It's a biblical commandment, right?
As opposed to rabbinical.
Okay, it says, "V'achata v'savata uberachta et Hashem Elokecha al ha'aretz hatova shenatan lach," right? In the book of Devarim, we'll read it this summer. God commands us, he says, when you eat and you're satiated, say a beracha, right? Or any other tefillot mentioned in the Torah. The only other one is Birkat Kohanim. That's the only other one, the beracha that the Kohanim say to the people, right? And that one is limited to a limited group of people, right? So in terms of the mandate of prayer, it's in the Torah, it's focused on one thing, and that's Birkat Hamazon, which is pretty incredible, which puts it in a completely different status of anything else. So if you want to put a pecking order of prayer, there's two things on top, Birkat Kohanim, right, that the Kohanim say to the people, which is limited in its application, and Birkat Hamazon, which everybody says and has maximal breadth and application. So from the perspective of knowledge of learning and growing, Birkat Hamazon is your champion. Okay, good. So why do we want to pray? Is it too warm now? I made it, now it's hot? You're sweating. I'll drop it a little bit. Haven't heard that expression, sweating bullets since 6:30.
I was just thinking of the yeshiva boys like sitting, probably so hot that they don't open their mouth.
When was the last time you heard sweating bullets? I think in the 60s. Okay, so if we hold that words are transformative, and we hold that prayer, the most important prayer is the Birkat Hamazon. Now, what does that do? Where does that take us? What does that mean? What does it mean? Words are transformative. A, the Birkat Hamazon is the most important prayer. A1, right? Hey, guys. How are you? How are you? So what? Okay. So what does that mean on a practical level?
This is the most important thing that you're thinking Hashem, because it's vital for good.
Very good. Very good. And therefore what? Work it now.
It puts us into a different mindset.
Good. But give me the practical implications of that.
You should say them more often.
So we should say Birkat Hamazon. We really should say it as often as we can. That's the reality. We don't like to do it because we don't like to eat bread that often, and we'll get that. But the reality is a person should say Birkat Hamazon as often as he can. But let's say we're not going to go crazy saying it every day, right? We're just not going to do it, right? It's not our lifestyle. Good.
Could
So
we
what?
say half of it?
Huh?
Could we say half of it?
Okay, half probably not.
No, in school, we used to say half of it. We didn't say them.
Yeah. So what would you do? Let's say you're gonna say it 4 times a week, right? We say it at least, we say it 2 times, probably 3 times on Shabbat, right? And then let's say you say it another once, twice during the week. If Birkat Hamazon is the God prayer to the exclusion of just about everything else, and words are transformative, so what does that mean? Hi, Robin. How are you? All right, nice to see you. Wish Robin Mabruk. She's a newlywed.
Yes.
It means we should do it much more often. We should be eating bread and saying it.
What else? Come on. What else does it mean? Leslie, let's go.
To God more.
I know you can't move your mouth, but speak without moving it. Let's go. Huh? What do you say? What does it mean? Huh?
We should be connecting to God more.
Right. But give me something very practical in terms of saying the Birkat Hamazon. Rob, we're on page, what page?
225.
225. Saying the Birkat Hamazon, what would it mean? Just give me very practical things.
Thanking Hashem for the food that
Right, but give me something practical. When I say it, how do I say it?
I'm concentrating on.
Okay, so it means that, and the halacha here is very interesting. It means the halacha is that I say it out of a book. Even if I know it by heart, do I say it by heart? The answer is no, right? Most of us probably know it by heart already, or know a good portion of it by heart. You should never say it by heart, right? Never say the Birkat Hamazon by heart. Wow, I know it. Is that thing? Can I get more into my own head if I'm saying it by heart? The answer is no. The answer is when we say the Birkat Hamazon, we from the whole end of the spectrum, from the black and white rabbis who are dealing from a perspective of the rational side of halakha to the mystical rabbis, everybody says say Birkat Hamazon with the book open. Everybody says it. Okay, good. What else would contribute to the empowerment of the words that I'm about to say to impact my life? What else would contribute to that?
I think that it's very, very important when you say Birkat Hamazon, you're satiated, you're full, you're content. But sometimes when we pray, we ask for this, we ask for that. Here, it's a different kind of
Good.
prayer.
So we're going to talk
It's
about that in a
desired.
few minutes. Very nice. Beautiful. We're going to talk about that when we get into the actual text. Hold that for like 5-10 minutes. What else? Come on. We want to pray with the book open. We want to pray from a book. Now, I'll tell you, interestingly, sometimes I say Birkat Hamazon from my phone. We have the Kol Yaakov Siddur on the phone. I actually struggle with it because it doesn't do it for me like my book does for me. So I need to work on that. It doesn't bring me to the same place. So if we say that from, huh? Is that what it is? All right. Okay. All right. It could be. It could be. What else do we need to do?
Saying it where you're eating. At the place of where. it's
Excellent. I say it at the place where I ate. Excellent. What else? What else do I do?
Do you reflect back to, like, Dad goes back to coming out of Egypt?
Right. Before we get to that, nice. How do I read it? How do I read it? Well, I'll give you some options. Do I read it silently? Do I read it out loud? What am I supposed to
Out
do?
loud.
How much out loud? I'm supposed to read it loud enough so I can hear it, right? And our rabbis write that when somebody reads something to a level where he can hear it, he's not only articulating the words, but he's hearing his own words. That's more transformative than otherwise. So I'm supposed to be reading it at a level where I'm not interrupting other people or interfering with them, but just about doing that. I need to read it from a book and I need to read it out loud. What else?
Especially if there's Zimun. They have the three.
Yeah.
Three,
So I answer,
people.
right? We
And you
answer.
and it's a whole,
Yeah,
it's
nice.
very out loud.
Good. And then throughout the time, I'm reading it out loud. Very nice. What else would you do? What else would you do?
Don't you have to have a couple of people to say the Zoom?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
3 men.
Three.
right.
Right?
Yeah. Now, by the way, women have the same obligation to the Birkat Hamazon as men do. There's no lesser obligation here.
To bring the 3 men together?
We don't add women to the Zimun, but technically you could. We don't do it, but technically you could, right? Because women have the same exact level of obligation as men.
You're not allowed to answer, and my father looked into it, he goes, okay, you can answer that.
He's, no, they really can answer. They can answer. They're 100% right. They're 100% right. It's 100% equal obligation, equal opportunity. Good. What else would you do? So I'm going to read them on a level where I can hear myself read. It's a different level of comprehension. What else? What else? What if I don't understand what I'm reading? If I don't understand what I'm reading, how transformative is it? It's not going to be all that transformative, right? If I understand it to a limited extent, it's going to impact me to a limited extent. So therefore, what do? What's the halakha on it?
Read in the language that you.
We read it in the language we understand, right? So if I'm not great at the Hebrew, I read it in English, right? Ideally, we do the transliteration, right? Some of the Siddurim have it, right? Where I read one line. And you know what? Even if it takes twice as long, it's great. Because when you read it with the transliteration, what happens is over time, you don't need the English anymore. When you do the one line, you don't need the English anymore. All prayers, excellent. All prayers, and especially Birkat Hamazon. Okay, all prayers, especially Birkat Hamazon. Good. So I want to hear it. I want to understand it, because if I don't hear it and understand it, I won't be transformed by it. I won't be changed by it. So its purpose won't be realized. If I get off the table and I haven't been sensitized by it, then I didn't achieve anything.
Why they make it so difficult that you had to have 3 people?
It doesn't matter. You say it anyway.
Why-
Of course.
no,
Right.
Why, what is it?
The 3 people is another conversation about bringing everybody together and creating this type of, collective praise of God. It's very nice, but it really is an add-on to the core prayer. So that's fine. It's nice. But the most important thing is that a person gets up from this feeling different. Okay, so let's see. So we want to understand the words we're saying, right? So let's look at let's look at a few other points and then we'll go inside. We hold as follows, and some of us talked about this. We hold as follows, right? We hold that you reap what you sow, generally speaking, right? A person puts in a certain amount of effort, right? And gets that reward. That's the general model, right, Sarah?
But isn't that in the Shemama?
1 second. Isn't that the general model? I work 8 hours a day. I should make X amount of dollars, right? That's the general model, right? Good. What's the limitation of that model?
You only work a certain amount of hours, you only get a certain amount.
Good. So what's different about our approach to that possibility?
You could work a certain amount of hours, but yet you could achieve.
Depends on the work you do.
Right, but after all that, yes, it's true, after all that, 8 hours of doing X could be worth $10 an hour, and 8 hours of doing Y could be worth $100 an hour, good. But in any case, generally speaking, I work and I harvest, right? Right? I implant, I sow, and I reap, right? Very good, okay. What changes that? What changes that is this overlay that we call beracha. There's an overlay to that we call beracha, right? We actually touched on this before, but we'll review it. The overlay of beracha means what? Means what, Mary? If my 2 hours should have yielded $200, what does the overlay do? It has the 2 hours bring me what? Maybe $2,000, right? Maybe $220, right? Because we hold that, we have the ability to bring that, what we call pixie dust. We have the ability to bring the pixie dust to augment our efforts with much greater reward, right?
But
And-
in that case, would you say the guy that works 2 hours, 6 hours and reaps less than what he should, is that like a bad omen?
I'm saying like this, I'm saying most people are not using the system. The system is work on this base level, like everybody else on the planet does. But you as a Jewish person have this remarkable extra lever to pull. And that lever is me'al hateva. It's above the norm. It's above nature.
Doesn't that go with what we always hold? If you start at something, Hashem will come and help you.
Beautiful. And how does the help happen? If I pull the trigger.
Mhm.
It doesn't happen on its own. It happens if I pull the trigger, right? How do I pull the trigger? Okay, no, so one more thing before we get to that. So I have base level, right? Action, result, base level. I have my overlay, which is beracha, which means 1 + 1 is not 2, 1 + 1 is 5. Okay, 4, right? Good. 1 + 1 is 4. Is that practical? Absolutely practical. Okay, it's practical. From our perspective, it's practical. How does that happen? It's all baked into the Birkat Hamazon. We'll talk about it in a few more minutes. But now we have 1 + 1 is 2, 1 + 1 could be 4, or 1 + 1 could be 8. How does 1 + 1 become 8? I go from beracha to shefa. What is shefa? Shefa is abundance. Who controls most of the shefa on the planet? Who? Women do.
Oh, wow.
That's the reality. Women do, right? She listens once in a while.
Always is.
She has an unfair advantage. She's
Yeah.
But she never listened before. This is all new. This is all new.
So what is this?
Somebody asked me yesterday, he goes, yeah, I love your beard this. I said, my wife hasn't spoken to me for a month. He goes, is that a bad thing? So I had to think about it for a minute, you know?
Yeah.
So shefa, what is shefa? So we have beracha, And then we have what we call abundance. Now, the storehouse above each person's head, so to speak, is storing beracha and it's storing shefa, right? These things are sitting there. Now, the way we understand it is most people open the spigot and it drips out. The beracha and the shefa drip. But what people can do is open the spigot more with the beracha and then the shefa pour down. Most people don't utilize the tools to do so.
What
The-
does shepherd translate to?
Shefa, abundance.
One.
Abundance, right. Shefa is abundance. Great. So what's the main tool, surprisingly, strangely enough, to unlock the beracha and the shefa? What's the main tool?
Prayer.
Birkat Hamazon. This prayer, people don't understand it. They don't understand the power of it. But you know what? They tell stories of great rabbis. Yeah, they tell stories of great rabbis where a greater rabbi would walk in to his salon while he was saying the Birkat Hamazon. He didn't notice him. The stories go that this great rabbi didn't notice the much greater rabbi, didn't notice him. And a half hour later, when he finished saying his Birkat Hamazon, half hour later, he was like jarred by his presence in the room. Absolutely consumed in his own place. So the reason I wanted to bring this up today is because most of us, and I raise my hand high, most of us don't use the tools that we have to unlock what we can have. And it's right in front of us. I think I told you the story in 2010, when the subprime market crashed, right? We were very involved in the real estate business. I had a sense that something bad was happening, misjudged it, right? It hit in 2008, got worse and got worse. So we misjudged it. So we were caught right in the bull's eye of failure. Every project we had collapsed within 3 months. Same time, it was 2008, didn't happen. It lasted into 2010. Same time, my father got sick and my mother got sick. It was a disaster, right? Disaster. Okay. My friends who were great Ashkenaz guys, we had a group of 4 or 5 guys. They were super guys. One of his rabbis told him a beautiful thing. He told them, listen, it's a very hard time for everybody, but you want to break out, have more bread.
Interesting. That's funny.
And that's sketch. We weren't kids at the time. He tells him, have more bread. What are you talking about? The bank is suing me. I have judgments. I have things. I'm going to court tomorrow. He says, okay, got it. I got the whole thing. So you know what you want to do? You want to say Birkat Hamazon every day. And you can't say that about the Amidah. You can't say that about the Vidoy. You can't say that about the Shema.
Why
Uh,
does it have shepherd?
It's a fantastic question. It's a fantastic question. I love Mary's question. I never thought about it. I love her question. It's a fantastic question. If that's true, it should be something we say every day regardless. Very good. So why don't we? Why don't we? Now, huh? Why is bread fat? By the way, what's that new bread now? That new-
You love her.
You gotta do royo. It is almost, yeah.
It's true, it's a good Sarah.
Huh?
Oh, yeah?
I love it. My sister just told me today.
Because it has to be.
What? No, now there's all these lightweight, whatever you call it.
It has to be, in Arabic, they call it min fil qalbi. It has to be from your heart. You can't tell like they don't say, love your mother and father, they say honor.
Right.
So this is the same idea, that it has to be from your heart that you're thanking God for it.
Okay, right, which means I would change the language just a bit, it would mean you'd have to have kavanah. It
Right.
would have to be intentful, right? You'd have to be intentional. Excellent, right? Yeah,
Tell you to give me more tzedakah.
yeah, good. But I'm telling you, there's a bigger handle here.
There we go.
There's a bigger handle here. There's the best handle. It's right here. Mary's question is the strongest question. She's asking the strongest question. If it was true, say it every morning. Don't worry about it. Okay, Good. So why don't we?
But that's too easy.
What, Rob? Why don't we? Huh? Right, but if she's saying skip the meal thing, if God wants us to praise him like this, let him make it a regular part of our morning prayer.
Feel more special saying it less times than you would every day. We'd like.
Go further. Come on. V'achata, v'savata, uberachta. What does it mean? Eat, be satiated, and say thank you, right? What do we change from that? What do we change? And there's tons written about this. What do we change on this thing? Do we eat, get satiated, and therefore have to say the Birkat Hamazon? No. What did we do? We went above and beyond. What did we do?
We ate so we can think.
No. What do we have to be satiated?
No.
What do we have to do?
You just have to eat enough of the.
How much bread do I have to eat? Because I ate excellent, which is how much? An ounce, right? Like one olive. Fantastic. What are you talking about? The Torah, God commands me when I'm satiated to bless him. We're going to go further. We're going to say, even if I'm not satiated, I only had 1 ounce more or less of bread, then I'm going to bless him, right? Right? Good. Huh?
Diana would have been enough.
Would have been enough the other way, right? Nice. But what's the point of the satiation? What's the point? Go back to Mary's first question. What's the point of saying the beracha when I'm satiated?
You're in a better frame of mind.
No? Come on.
You've been giving it already. You don't need to ask for anything.
You don't need to ask anything, and
Already satiated.
you're already satiated. Great. And
Therefore we think.
1 second. Let me ask you something. Are we all satiated just about every single day from the quality of our lives? No? We're not satiated?
I mean, we
We're
always
starving to death. Look at us.
What? I'm not talking about food. I said satiated from the quality of our lives.
Yes.
We're satiated, what? Great, very good. So the reality is we're a lot more satiated than we are thankful. That's the reality. That's the truth. We're a lot more satiated. We're a lot more blessed than we are thankful. I'll raise my hands both on that thing. B'lian hara. Me and most of us are a lot more blessed than we are thankful. We're a lot more satiated than we are thankful. So what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu set it up, to your point, Mary? He says, you know when I want you to be thankful? When you're satiated. You know why? I want you to recognize the pleasure, recognize the beauty, recognize the generosity in your life, and thank me for it. Because when you look in the same book in Devarim, what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu say? He says, you know what's going to happen? You're going to go to the land of Israel. You're going to have everything. You're going to be satiated beyond whatever you ever imagined, which we all are. We all are, right? Satiated beyond what we ever could have imagined, right? And then you're going to forget about me, God says. And it's true. Everybody does it on every level. And therefore, what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu say? He said, when you're satiated, make sure you don't forget me. Because when you're satiated is when most people do. What do?
Right.
Right?
When it's
Huh?
suffering,
Yeah, when God forbid times are challenging, nobody forgets God, right? Everybody's very close to God at that point. But when a person has the good, he or she, okay, I'll say the Birkat Hamazon, I'll mumble through it because I have to say it, everybody's sitting around the table, but I don't have that thing. So, Mary, to your point, what does God want to do? He wants to test the system, and he wants to teach me appreciation. Good. Now, we say another thing. So, you reap what you sow, baseline, right? We don't want to depend on the baseline. Why not? Because we can access more. So we want to have beracha. We want to have shefa. How do we get those things? The primary tool is to express gratitude through the Birkat Hamazon. We could talk about umpteen other tools, but you want to talk about tool number 1 through 10, it's the Birkat Hamazon. And how do you want to do it? You want to do it in a book. You want to read the words. You want to understand the words. You want to take time. You want to say them loud enough for you to hear them. And you want the words to have an impact on you. Okay? And that changes things. And that opens the spigot no matter what. Good?
Yeah.
Okay, so far?
Very good.
Okay, very good. Okay.
Like a lot of times I read and I get the gist, I don't know if I understand every single meaning of every single
Beautiful.
word, but
So
I-
that's why I want to go through it with you. That's why I want to go through it because most people don't. Okay, most people don't. Let me just see if we skipped
The English
anything here.
takes constantly that when I do
You said the
that,
word
I
umpteen.
finish when
Huh?
they.
Umpteen.
I said umpteen.
Takes
I'm on
a
an
long time.
umpteen kick.
Yeah.
Very absorbed meaning.
What's that?
So when I pray the Amidah in shul, I
Yeah.
usually finish after they repeat the Amidah. Takes me double as long.
It
It's
should.
English.
It
I'm
should.
very absorbed in it.
You,
But sometimes
everybody,
they
when you
repeat
pray
it.
the Amidah in shul, you should know you did a decent job. If you finished, when they finish the repetition,
That's
But you
what-
feel pressure.
huh?
Yeah, you
Don't feel the pressure.
I'm staying
By the way,
by myself.
excellent, Leslie. What's the halakha on that? The halakha on prayer is less is more. In other words, pray less. Manan Shulchan Aruch says it straight out, no holds barred. He says the point of prayer is to transform and change and to reach a different level of connectedness between you and God. Therefore, it's not about covering ground. And he says, I'm paraphrasing, he says, who cares where the who cares where see? Who cares where the what do you call it is? Messes. Ignore where everybody is.
Like when they
Just
the
do your
shofar,
own
I'm
thing.
not up to it.
What's that?
They do the shofar. You stop. You want to be with them, or you want to be where they are. No, you do
You don't
stop,
have
but
to be.
exactly,
I never
you
was.
feel-
So you don't have to stop praying when you hear the shofar, even if you're not up to that point.
No,
So you don't have to be in the same.
no. If you do, great. But if you don't, it's okay because it's all about me, and God doesn't want me to rush. And I love the idea that okay, I got it back. I love the idea that if you don't finish your Amidah till they do the whole repetition, you know you're on the right track.
Wow.
You know that it shouldn't be faster than that. Can't be. By the way, if you finish the Amidah and you don't feel different, so what did you do? If you don't feel like you checked out, so what did you do? If you don't say the Birkat Hamazon after the Zimun with the sense that there's nobody else in the room but you and God, what did you do? We gave up the opportunity. And by the way, I really finally in my life becoming very sensitive to this issue, that words have much more power than anything else. And it's great to use them.
If you come into shul late and the Sifrei Torah is coming out, can you still go back and pray the Amidah?
100%. 100%. Yeah. Oh, there's one other fascinating idea that the rabbis bring. One other fascinating idea. They say, and you're going to say, oh, he says that about everything, but they say that you should be happy when you say the Birkat Hamazon. That you should say it b'simcha. Why would that make a difference, Robin? Saying it b'simcha. Huh?
Has more meaning.
It has more?
Meaning.
It has more meaning. Why does it have more meaning? 100%. Why would it have more meaning when you say it b'simcha? You're in the right frame of mind. Excellent. Yeah. So if I'm happy, am I going to be more appreciative? Am I going to be more generous in my praise and thanks? So the rabbis say that a person should work to bring himself to a happy state of mind. B'simcha, they say, uba'ayin tova. Ayin tov. What does that mean? With a good eye. What does that mean? When you look at something with a good eye, huh?
Good feeling towards anything.
Right, a good feeling, excellent. To be expansive, to be
Right.
expressive, to take time, right?
To be
So the
positive.
simcha, the happy element, as an add-on, is a remarkable add-on. In fact, all of prayer should be said having a good time and smiling. Now I walk into shul, right, and I smile at everybody, and I'm amazed at how few people smile. I really am amazed. No, I really don't understand. I'm not saying it to be facetious. I'm being very honest. I don't understand how somebody would give up the opportunity to give a beautiful smile to another person when they have that opportunity. Why would you give it up? 1 second. What's a better idea? Right? I have the opportunity to smile at this person, right? Is there a better idea? There's not a better idea.
Human nature is we smile at someone, they
They
do smile
smile
back.
back.
And if you look at
No,
someone
I agree,
angry,
but-
then you get that
Right.
back.
And you know what? If that you smile and they don't smile back, I'll see you. Who cares?
But.
We're
but
on it anyway.
if the
Yeah.
prayer boss, they say greet all men cheerfully, but I always add in my yoga classes first. Because even when I was in Israel, there's a lot of people that, yeah, they're all down, but once you smile, say shalom, all of a sudden they become
Yeah,
alive.
very
That's when
powerful.
They wake up. It's a very different thing.
It's very
Whatever
powerful.
you see, smile, say good morning, good afternoon, whatever you see, it'll change their life.
Huh?
A lot of times I'm rushing, my head is not there. It is, I try, but I
What, when
know
you're
I'm-
praying?
When I'm praying, Lasha, I know I have this much time and, is it better not to pray or to?
A lady has to pray once a day. A woman has to pray once a day. Do it when you can focus and zoom in. And by the way, if you do it and you weren't able to zoom in, you could do it again, right? It's called Tfilat Nedava. It's a gift. It's a gift. So you could do it. You could pray umpteen times a day if you want. I said it again. They did this video on me, this umpteen video. I watched myself 200 times because I wanted to get the views up, you know? So I can't think of any other word right now.
Rabbi, millions of visit Hashem.
And visit with
You have a
Hashem.
certain place that you visit with him.
Yeah.
Whether it's a certain chair,
Yeah.
a certain lounge or chair or
Right.
whatever.
Oh, by the way,
my
that's a super point. Jem's point is a super point. It's very important what you just mentioned. I should have a set spot that I pray in, right? Which you do, right? And it shouldn't be by a window, and it shouldn't be by a very colorful wall or anything like that. It should be in a place that's really my own little checking out zone, right? Huh?
Never hear without.
Interesting.
Yeah.
man.
He's very, very into prayer and meditation.
Nice.
He feels like prayer is meditation. It's just a
It is.
level of meditation.
It is.
He's
It
very-
is. Very nice. Okay, Ha'el Hazan, What?
I just moved into a condo and I'm looking at the ocean.
how gorgeous is that?
So to me, it gives me spiritual.
Okay.
You're saying I really. it's
I'm
not
saying
to-
No,
You have to be very careful. As long as looking at the ocean doesn't distract you from the words, right? If,
It gives me
I think more and more.
What's that?
It gives me inspiration.
beautiful, then fantastic, then it's great. Then it's great. That is great. For some people, it distracts them from the words. So that's,
My husband, I see stands in the corner.
all right. Oh, so he, all right, he stands by the wall. All right, okay. Hel azan otanu. Let's open up the first paragraph. Okay, first of all, let's go back. When we invite each other to say the zimun, what are we saying? Nevarech she'achalnu mishelo. What does that mean? Nevarech, in the opening part, right? In the beginning part, before we start the formal prayer, what do we say? B'shutchem shamayim, right? We say with the approval of everybody, we answer with the approval of everybody and with the approval of God. Nevarech she'achalnu mishelo. What does that mean? From whom? Ah, okay. Oh, because, okay.
It's the woman. It's calling the attention.
We call the attention that, very good. That, what are we calling? Nevarech, let's say a thank you, she'achalnu, for what we ate from him, his food,
Oh, no, but not
his
sure.
food, right? Nevarech she'achalnu mishelo. Good, so that starts to put us in the mind frame, right? Then we answer, Baruch she'achalnu mishelo. We're going to bless he who we ate from as a result of his benevolence. Ubetuvo chayinu. What does that mean? Nevarech she'achalnu mishelo. We're going to, huh? You're looking at?
I'm looking from the.
Good, excellent, good. So what does it mean? Through his goodness we live. One second, when I open up, I'm already making a proclamation of where I want to be on this thing. Nevarech she'achalnu mishelo. We're gonna Baruch she'achalnu mishelo. Sorry, we're gonna bless he who has provided us this sustenance, and then we answer Baruch she'achalnu mishelo. Yes, we're gonna praise he who has given this to us. Ubetuvo, and with his absolute good we live.
When Hashem created us, did he say Kitov to Adam?
Yes,
Oh, so that's all his.
Yeah.
His creation.
yes, that's right.
Gadol.
Okay, so when we open up, we're already framing this as I'm going to thank he who gives to me and gives me life. U'b'tubo chayinu. As a result of his good, his absolute good, I'm alive. So if somebody stopped there and paused for 2 minutes and got their head into it, it's a different prayer that follows. But the segue, the intro, the prompt is meant to put us right in the head. But we say it mindlessly, right? We say it mindlessly, right? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. Well, okay, blessed are you, Amonai. What does Amonai mean? Huh? Excellent. Mercy, long view, Rahmanut, right? Excellent. Elokeinu means what? Today, judgment, Dean. What do I prefer? Nope. You do.
Definitely do not.
Let's not use the word judgment. Let's use the word, let's not use the word judgment. Let's use the word attention to detail. Amonai is the long view God. He's the God who kicks the can down the road.
Not the day to day?
Not the day-to-day. Elokeinu is the day-to-day. Elokeinu is a doting parent. Elokeinu is a demanding teacher. As a child, I want a parent who's
Engaged in our life.
engaged, right? I want an engaged parent. I want an engaged teacher. I don't want an absent teacher. So what do I really want? I want Elokeinu. Baruch Hashem, Elokeinu. The later reference is the one I want. Melech haolam, the one who controls everything. Hazan et haolam kulo. What does that mean? It's a bombshell that's dropped down. Hazan et haolam kulo.
He's the one who, made the earth and the beings and everything in it.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So what does that mean? Hazan mazon, hazun. It means he provides food to everybody on the planet. Now, is that true? Does everyone on the planet have food to eat? No, it's not true. So how do we say it? We just said it, opening statement, that God gives enough food for every living being to be able to be sustained. But that's not true. So what are we saying here?
So, what we just said, just he nourishes us with his goodness.
What's his goodness? Yeah,
So it could just be with his presence, you know.
but he would, right, yes, right, but we are saying he gives sustenance to everybody. He does it as a result of his goodness, yes, correct. But we gives sustenance to everybody. Is that true?
No.
So when you look at it quickly, it doesn't appear to be true, right? Because we have people that are starving on the planet, right? We have people that don't have what to eat. So the rabbis write an interesting thing, and I saw some studies a handful of years ago on this, that the reality is the earth does produce enough food for all of its people. The earth does produce enough food for all of its people, but we destroy a lot of food, right? How many thousands of tons of grain does America dump in the ocean every year to keep grain prices up? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's been doing it for decades, maybe more, because the Farmers Union, the Farmers Association, wants to protect the minimum value of their produce,
Why don't they
right?
just give it?
Huh?
They should just give
If
it.
they gave it, maybe somebody would take it and resell it. So we have people, you get on a 7-hour plane ride to Senegal, it's only 7 hours. You have people dying of starvation, right? Used to be 14 million people a year died on the African continent. And what was the logic that people said? It's not so terrible, because otherwise we'd have overpopulation on the planet. Yeah, this is the way the world is geared. But from our perspective today, the reality is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu commits to provide the world with enough food for everybody and everything. Hazan et haolam, who feeds, who gives sustenance to the entire world, fulo, everything, every facet, every element, betubo, with good, right? With generosity, with happiness. Bechen, bechesed, brachamim, right? With chen, what is chen? Fineness, right? Fineness, chesed, compassion, caring, rachamim, mercy, right? Noten lechem lechol basar. He gives for everybody, regardless of a person's station. Ki leolam chazo, because his chesed is as big as the world. Now, stop right there. Oh, you know what? Go one more second. Ubtubo hagadol tamid lo chasa lanu ve'al yichsa lanu mazon leolam va'ed. What does that mean? We'll pause in 5 minutes. What does that
Could you
mean?
repeat that in
Huh?
English, so I know where I am?
Ubetubo hagadol, and based on his great goodness,
We're not missing anything.
tamid, forever and ever, forever tamid, consistently on and on. Lo chasar lanu. He will never limit us. We will never be limited. Lo chasar lanu va'al yachsar lanu mazon. He's never going to hold back. He'll never want to hold back. Le'olam va'ed, forever and ever. What's going on here?
I see
Ki hu
something.
elzan u'mafanes lakol. What does that mean? Didn't anybody in this room ever feel like they didn't have all they needed? Legitimately so. There's pressure to pay the bills. There's pressure to get this done, right? Don't we face that sometimes? Everybody does, right? Is that a real thing? It's a real thing, right? But what we don't necessarily understand is that the sustenance is in the pipe. It's in the pipe. I'm sitting down here trying to figure out how to pay the bill. I can't pay the bill, but the sustenance is in the pipe, and God is pushing it. And he's saying, open your mouth, man, and I'll let it go. But we say this mindlessly. We don't access it. And so we don't know that it's sitting there right on top of my head, ready to land right here on the table. So when I say the word, it's not, these aren't idle words. I'm not lying. When I say tamid lo chasar lanu, he never misses in giving us what we need. Va'al yichsar lanu, and he will never. Mazon tamid leolam va'ed ki u'elzan u'mfanes lakol. He gives everybody what they need. Okay, maybe sometimes I think I need more than what I need. That could very well be. That could granted. That's granted. True.
I'll get it.
Huh? Go get it. Go get it.
There.
It's there. It's in the spigot. Who clogged up the spigot? I did. How do I open the spigot? I read this thing differently. I take my time. First of all, I make sure that I had at least an ounce of bread. And because we wash before with a beracha, we need 2 ounces to cover the beracha of al netilat yadayim. We only need, it's like a funny situation. We only need 1 ounce for the Birkat Hamazon, but we need 2 ounces for the netilat yadayim. By the way, 2 ounces is nothing. Anyway, so we should make sure to eat the 2 ounces. And then in this first paragraph in particular, this is the grand slam paragraph. Next week, God willing, we'll do the rest of it. But this is the grand slam paragraph right here. And if you take the time and you spend it on, the others are very beautiful as well, but they echo what's said here. So this is the one too.
But doesn't it give us
Okay.
a responsibility
Thank
as
you.
well?
Feel good.
Wow.